Hey folks, so I guess it's about as good as we get on viewing angle here. The tank sits between here and these two screws down here is the tail of the tank if I get my fat head out of the way. This is a vent tube that goes on. It probably could be the last thing I put on. It probably needs a clip because it's always coming off and I can smell the gas vapors when it does on a ride. Tank gets hot from the engine. This is that quick release nastiness. It's actually got two pins that have to be pushed in on opposite sides to pop it off the pipe of the tank. But once this clips on, hold on, there's a sequence to it. There's a plastic clip that slides onto the tank pipe. And then this thing clips onto the tank pipe. Then the plastic clip comes down and secures it. And with that in place, the buttons can't be pressed. This can't back off. Even though without the clip, it probably wouldn't come off anyway because it's so hard to pinch this. And on the opposite side is the fuel tank fuel level sensor plug. So it's got 4 pins. 2 for fuel tank power and 2 for the sensors, probably a capacitive frequency something based, hooks up to the engine computer. Here's that nasty little plastic doohickey. It has to go this way, I believe. Something like that. No, it slips over, right? Wrong? That way? It's better to figure this out now in a hurry and not in a hurry. It has to, keep saying it has to and then it doesn't. It's got to slip over. That's a given. I know it's got to slip over. It's kind of like it wants to go, yeah, like that. So that's how it clips over. I don't know why. I guess it's got these little plastic nubs to kind of guide it so that it slides in a straight line on the tube instead of getting all off axis, off kilter. This goes under the tank. It's got a little cutout, which I guess is for clearance on the edge of the fanciful little, there's a slot here where the main wiring harness goes through, and this is the hole where that sits. And then it's got a metal insert which slips through the other side. The tank sits in this groove on the rubber. The metal insert never actually touches it. But this metal insert is to transmit the torquelation so that the screw bottoms out metal on metal and doesn't crush the rubber, so the rubber stays soft for the vibration. So rubber inserts installed, metal grommet thing on top. Don't dent the tank yet, Dave, wait till tomorrow. Plastic doohickey, well, it slid right off. It goes over the pipe like that, and that, like I said, that little molded plastic nub makes it stay kind of in line, so hopefully it will be reasonable to, if I kind of push it further up, it might actually stay up there. So hopefully it'll be reasonable enough to slip that on, turn it 180 degrees so it's the right way down, and snap it on. It's not a matter of what direction it has to go. Oh, and there's some plastic or rubber things and little fins on the inside of the tank that scoop over them on the front, so that's how that mounts. The easiest way to do this though is totally ignore the rules. Rest those fins on top of the rubber. So now the tank is sitting a couple inches too high and I can get my hand under there to manipulate it. Alright, so this is where Dave's got to do it one-handed and alone in the dark. You know, every time I've done this, you think it'd be easy. There it goes. Pop, pop, pop. All right, so feeling for those little slots. Go forward, twist, wiggle it in place. That's where she sits. So I need a zip tie for this guy. Good here. I'm checking the handlebars and control cables so I'm not rubbing on the tank. So I know I got to zip tie that one out of the way, but that's not too big a deal. I can find the bolts. Use your imagination, not gonna waste your time. There's 2 bolts that go in there, whatever size that were that came out. And the fuel cap, if you don't know how to operate that, drop me a line, I'll let you know when I get the manual how I figured it out. So I gotta do the front signals, tighten screws, put the seat on, probably run with black turn signals for a test ride, and go find because the rear ones are still on, so why bother taking them off at this moment. I just want to make sure the damn thing runs before I put any more work into it, and you should always do that kind of thing before you go and buy aftermarket exhausts, Dave. Remember that one.
Well, folks, Dave almost forgot the most important part here. So yeah, so I'm going to do this before and after. Obviously, this is the before. This is the Dominator touring mufflers on the stock Triumph headers. Engage number 1. Can't do it without squeezing the clutch. So it has to be a two-hander. Okay, so Dominator touring high torque, if you go by the different branding, same thing. Factory header, a little blue, a little dirty, black exhaust paint, cleaned it up a bit.
Okay, now we're off to the races here. For posterior sake, this is a 12mm ratcheting wrench, and this is a tight place to work in, so ratcheting wrench is super nice to have. So the nut on the back of this guy, this is an aftermarket bracket for mounting my bags. I got some SW Motec saddle bags. They didn't sponsor me, so don't go buy any. 2 clicks at a time. Now use geometry, folks, and remember that there's 360 degrees in a circle, and I'm getting about, let's say 10 degrees. We'll be generous here. I think these are, I don't know, 3 degree, 5 degree clicks on this guy, something like that. 10, 15 degrees. So I got to do this about 6,000 times. That's the math of it right there. All right, there she blows. Only roughed up a little bit. Got about 2 sharp edges left on the whole nut. Like I said, custom job here, stuffed full of washers to make this aftermarket exhaust fit exactly the way I wanted. There's the luggage bracket. That's where that thing mounts. I don't even need to loosen up the clamp. Yeah. Whoopsie! That'd be our battle damage right there from the crash. See if I can hold it where it's in focus. A little bit of rust, paint flaking off. So that actually must have winged up against something over here. Maybe this guy. Yeah, axle bolt. Strongest bolt on the whole bike. So I'll be gingerly with this guy. Somebody might want him.
Alright folks, just for and giggles and to make sure I go back to prison, we're gonna do a quick sound check with no mufflers. Let's start her up. Jeff, this was your idea, so why don't you do it?
Alright.
That way I can point at you when the cops show arrive. So key on, make sure it's in neutral. If you turn it on, you gotta flip the handlebar switch, because I'm not that guy that turns it off with the key. I turn it off with the handlebar switch.
Gotcha. I'm that guy that just turns it on the key.
I don't believe your myths. Alright, it's in neutral.
Loud noises!
About 10, 12, 15, 12 and a half meters away. I call it more like 15. And I can feel the puffs of air when I walk behind it 15 feet away. Alright. Okay, let's go. Alright folks, so to do the headers I got these aftermarket little heatsink doodads to make it look like a vintage Triumph. They're 2 pieces, they just clamp together with some socket head screws. So that it's already kind of twisting because it's loose. So this just sits on the pipe. Maybe it makes it cooler, a little cooler. Actually, yeah, actually does reduce the bluing slightly. Long enough time, still gonna turn blue. I might try to put these on the new headers if they fit. There we go. This is the hard one. Because of my steering damper is in the way, and the frame is in the way, and the header is in the way. Okay, it's pretty loose. Any second now. Got it. Let's see if I can show this to you before that might be a super difficult problem to attack. This guy is a shock isolating mount. It looks like this. So this goes through a ring on the header, and this piece of rubber does the shock isolating, and there's a hole on the frame side that this screws into. And it has a Torx 50 head. And it's right behind the brake lever. So I'm gonna have to take the brake lever off for the 10th time in the last month. Alright folks, hopefully you can see I got the brake bracket turned to the side, being super careful here not to yank on the seals that are attached to that rod still. I got my socket stuck in the guy there. This is the isolator we're talking about, and here's the socket that's in it. You know, it's really hard to tell if it was supposed to be a Torx or a hex. It's got such wide rounded corners. I got a Torx 50 in it and it worked great. So I said it was a Torx 50 before. I'm not taking it back yet, but well, 8mm hex fits just the same. So there you go. It's an 8mm hex, why not? Or a Torx 50 hex with rounded corners, or a Torx 50. We're loose on all sides here. So there's a crossover pipe between the factory headers on both sides, so you can't just do one, you gotta do both. So I had pre-gamed the other side while you weren't looking. Oh shoot, there's a clamp. There's a clamp. I'm saying clamp repeatedly so I don't have to swear. Okay. I'm gonna go loosen that clamp up, probably with a socket dangling in there, because I got a bash plate, and that's four more bolts to do, 2 on the front and 2 more clamps underneath on the frame. And I don't want to have to do that when I can just do the one trick, you know, again, do twice as much work to avoid a little bit of work. Alright, we cheated, did a little movie magic off screen. Once I got that clamp out, taking a extension 3/8 drive ratchet and a 6mm hex through the hole in the skid plate. And only one of them, because an oil tube blocks the other hole. There's really only one way to do this. You could take the skid plate off, that's 2 ways. But I got the clamp loose that way, and we had to wiggle, two people wiggling it back and forth, twisting it to get this to back off enough that we could pull it off, because all the friction was still holding it together. It's probably all kinds of soot and oil, and I actually may have put some grease on them and to make them come apart easier, and that just burned into glue. What's that, Jeff? We need to see what it sounds like with no headers. Just run the engine with no headers, it'll be fine.
You have to?
No. All right, we just fished out of the hole the mystical cropper exhaust washers. Some people reuse them. It's kind of one of those, do you really want to do a job twice because you didn't? But to all the people who reuse them, these things used to look like donuts. They were round in profile, and now they are pancakes. They are flat. And they've got toothy indentations in them from the casting that they've turned into anti-rotation devices. Yeah. So hold on, let me see if we can focus here. Nope. Maybe, yeah. So donuts and pancakes. Hope this is the right size. I bought these with Honda parts from a Triumph forum recommendation. They were half the price and available twice as fast. So there you go. All right, Jeff had the great idea that should show you the part number. You're not likely to go on the forums or what have you and dig this information out. So it's a Honda 18291-MM5-860. That's right, 18291-MM5-860. Our lines are waiting. $2 a minute.
Okay, also for posterity's sake, since I got it in my hands and I've done this before on paper, but proof is in the doing, so we're going to weigh the pieces of the new exhaust and the old exhaust for all you nerds out there.
2 hours later.
So 17.375 minus 6.3125. Yeah, 11 and 1/16, whatever that is. 0.625. So yeah, 11 pounds off of, and the Dominator Tourings are probably already 20 pounds lighter, something like that, than the factory mufflers. So woo, that might be interesting. We'll find out once we get it all assembled. So on to the next one. All right, so before I put these on, I'm gonna hit it with a little bit of the silver anti-seize. Everything you touch turns to silver. Like King Midas on a discount plan. So this stuff, any kind of grease paste or whatever you put on these things, it's gonna get so hot it burns away. So the silver anti-seize has got particles of, I believe, nickel, not actually silver, and the nickel metal powder will stay in the grooves and prevent, well, I don't know that it prevents corrosion, it prevents contact between the actual nut and the studs that are pressed into the cylinder, or screwed into the cylinder head. So the way they angulate is towards the inside, so this one has to go over there somehow. Scratch, silver. Let me just ruin everything for a second here. Hold on. You get it? Get it in place. Wait. Go to the other side and put the nuts on. There you go. I put it down and walked over here. So don't forget the gasket that they told you not to forget in the instructions. With whatever those crazy words they used where it had nothing to do with not forgetting a gasket. I just walked away with it and put it down somewhere.
Oh, I got it.
I'm kind of nervous about the clearance issue over there. With that
I'm a little nervous as well.
slider. Come on, why isn't it not going back into place? Alright, it's on there. Now it's all that's left to do on there is to crush the hell out of the washer. That's this guy right down here. So like they're like, oh yeah, just put all this crap in the way and then rotate it. It'll work. It's fine. It'll be fine. Don't think about it. There's no way to get these stupid copper things to stay in place. Other than to put the header up against them. So actually, yes, forgetting them and then slipping them in at the last second is the best way to do
that's not gonna work at all. That totally goes right where this frame slider is.
I think
Alright,
you're right.
that one goes back over there. Frame slider is getting ditched. Minor setback. Because I don't know where the bolt is that goes on that engine mount. Major setback. Okay, folks, as you can kind of see, I got the bolts tightened down. I think we're almost ready to do a loud noises test video and make the neighbors kill us. Only I'm gonna wait because it's really the middle of the night this time, and not like last time. Pipes looking pretty good, real tight, right about there. Basically you can fit a piece of paper between it. I don't like that at all. Shame on you, Zard, for doing that. But you know, it's got a 1/4 inch clearance to the frame, so like it's like they definitely thought about clearancing and then said, yeah, you know, instead of splitting the difference, we'll do this. It's all good. So on to the next one. Sun up. I'll still be asleep. Noontime tomorrow. Might be awake, and at some point when I wake up, we will get out here and we'll do audio test the exhaust with the baffle. On all of them I've tested pretty much the exhaust is deeper when you're behind the bike, like directly behind it, and more higher pitch to the sides, and I think that's probably engine noise, valve noise. It's just the exhaust noise is deep and projected backwards. We'll see how it compares in pitch and volume to let's see, we did the Dominator Tourings and we did the straight headers. Factory pipes, sorry, you know, you won't get some with my mic set up, but you're plenty of videos on the YouTubes for the factory pipes. Alright, so peace out, Cub Scouts. I'll see you tomorrow. Alright, folks, ready for our exhaust test. I'm gonna walk about with a camera here one-handed and see if we can make this thing work. Key on. Power. Cutoff switch, whatever you call it. Alright, shooting from the hip. So I can get to the starter with the other hand. So, important to note, we got the baffle in. I have not remapped the exhaust. It's actually, at least on this side of the bike, noticeably quieter. We got the WD-40 burning off the pipes. We only wiped it down to get rid of the evidence in the tanks so they didn't burn in. WD-40 and gasoline on pretty much every surface. That's how you clean it. Right there in the owner's manual that I didn't read. So, starts off, baffle in, first run, still running a 2 and a 2 map. Idling about 1,000. That's good by me. It's actually pretty tame. It's quieter than the Dominator Touring, so I'm about 12 feet, 10 feet back. Alright folks, onwards and upwards, or sidewards. We're about to perform a bafflectomy. So this be the baffle, this little inner circle here. So I got the spring tool that came with the kit. Turns out maybe they did think of something. It happens to be they have a pin in here. It goes a vertical cylindrical rod. So we got a vertical pin cylindrical shape welded inside this guy, and a lot of folks say they cut it out because it makes a whistling sound, but we're going to cut the whole baffle so we don't have to worry about it. So I had to take about, I think it was 4mm a socket head screw out of this cone. This cone is machined. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to catch that cylindrical rod like so, and you just kind of pull straight back. Ooh, yep, gruesome, I know. Hard to look at, but there she is. That's the baffle. So it's just an open end It's got that pin on the inside I was talking about that we hooked it by. Ain't nothing to speak of except it gets a little wider down here to seal on the flanged end. Well, she's out, so we're going to fire up her again and see what she sounds like. So let me go check this on the table so I can get about 3 hands for you to start her up. Alright folks, we got the baffle out and we're going to fire up one more time. So I got to shoot from the hip, use my third hand here to turn the key, push the switch, hold in the clutch and thumb the starter. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Quieter than the Dominator touring pipes. The right side maybe a hair bit loud. Alrighty. So we gotta wrap it up. So we got a ride tomorrow planned, and I might actually make this one.